started. I'm gonna try to play some music, but by the time I got it up and going, it was time to shut her down, so. Anyway, thanks for being here, everyone. And also, hey, Will?
Yes.
Oh, well, let's find out. Is there anyone here tonight would like to celebrate clean time with bracelets? Because if there is, I was gonna have Will do that, but looks like we don't have anybody. Okay, if we have somebody comes in, of course we'll just get started. So anyway, welcome to all of you here tonight, and also welcome to everyone out there on the internet. Tonight we're going to be covering, I think, a very interesting topic. I know I say that almost every week, but it is. And if it wasn't interesting, I would get bored. How about you? Because I like to learn, and I think it's good. And of course, I try to expand what the book has in it for my own, just for my own part of it, and be able to communicate to you all. So anyway, for tonight, it's still step 10, because this is the 10th month, and so that's the reason why we're on step 10. And this is our very last step 10, by the way. And so we're going to be doing looking in the mirror, James 1:21 through 25. Willie's going to be doing that. Looks like he's getting ready. And then Tommy's going to be doing the reflection. How about that? Tommy, are you ready? Okay, so anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. Step 10, I know we're going to be reading that here in a minute, but I want to read it to go along with my questions. And we continue to take personal inventory. Everybody say inventory.
Inventory.
I think I heard one person. Everybody say inventory.
Inventory.
All right, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So tonight, what does looking in the mirror mean? I heard a little bit of moaning. Anybody want to suggest? Think? State?
Taking a look at ourselves.
Take a look at ourselves? That's a pretty good guess. Anybody else? Why would we want to look? Oh, go ahead, Robert.
And I think looking at ourselves and how we're relating to other people.
Okay.
Because that's kind of what we're asking. Have we done anything wrong lately?
Mm-hmm. Tying that in with our inventory.
Yeah, so if we've done something wrong, it's usually meaning in some kind of a relationship, either with God or another person.
Right.
And if we have done something wrong, then we need to admit it and take steps not to do that again.
Yep, that's good. That's good. Of course, you know, that's taking inventory on our wrongs is definitely a big part of it. But we also need to also look and see what we've done right too. We mustn't forget that part of it. Usually we look at the wrong, and facts of it is sometimes it's even easier to find the wrongs than it is the rights. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
And so we need to get a true inventory. If you're working in a business and you're inventorying the stock, you want to know what you got, and we want to know what you lost. So so you want to get a true inventory where you are. And so how does all that tie in with step 10 and looking in the mirror? So let's read step 10 again. Okay, we commit to take personal inventory. Keyword, personal inventory. And when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. So how does looking at the mirror and taking personal inventory tie together?
See ourselves?
See ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many times, now this is going to be one of the one of the statements in the information, so I may be stealing Willie's thunder here a little bit, but how many times do you look in the mirror a day?
I try not to.
Try not to, but you do, right? Somewhere, sometime.
Yeah.
And the reason why? Why do we look in the mirror?
Look at yourself.
Say it again, Tina.
Look at yourself.
Look at yourself for what purpose?
See if you got anything on your face.
See how you look. See if your hair's messed up, or you got, how your face is, or if you got something on there, or if you shaved today or you didn't shave today.
Remind myself how beautiful I am.
To look at yourself and remind yourself how beautiful you are. Yes, thank you, Lawrence. And so the purpose is to sync this together. The purpose, using Tina's information there, is you're doing a quick visual inventory, right?
Yeah.
And nobody was really too honest a while ago when I said, how many times do you look in the mirror a day? So how many inventories do you take of a visual inventory a day? I bet you take some that you don't eat and you're not even aware of them. What do you think? Which is not bad. Is that bad?
No.
Unless it's vanity, like maybe somebody else that answered a minute ago. His name is Lawrence. And so So that's where we're looking at, and I have some research that I have here, if you'd like me to go through a little bit of research. Key main items was self-reflection, which we've basically been talking about. You're looking to see how you are, but not only on the outside, but also on the inside. Basically what Robert was talking about, evaluating yourself, how I've done. Okay, you can do that in the morning when you wake up. You can do that at night. You can do that during the day. You can do that an ongoing, times during the day to evaluate yourself. So we're trying to check ourselves out there physically, and so we're looking for an honest appraisal. So what if you look in the mirror and your appearance doesn't meet your expectations, but you say, I don't care anyway, it don't matter.
That's Wednesday.
That was Wednesday. Yeah. And when you reflect back on that decision, how are you going to feel about that? You may feel okay about it, you may not feel okay about it, right? But the fact of it is, the reason why we try to do an honest appraisal is to evaluate ourselves and see what we need to work on. Would you agree with that? And so that would be a good thing to do, correct?
Yes.
All right? And so then, because that gives us an opportunity when we say, I really ought to do something about that, okay? I really ought to get a haircut. I really ought to put a hat on. Or something, okay? To alter that, and if we recognize something we need to change, isn't it really in our best interest if we see something we need to change that we change it? Isn't it in our best, if we see that we need to change, if we think to ourselves, I really ought to do something about this, I ought to fix this, isn't it really in our best interest to address what we say to ourselves that we need to change?
But it's hard.
Not saying that it's easy. In fact, yeah, it's hard. Change is hard. Change is oftentimes very painful. But if we have evaluated ourselves, we've given ourselves an opportunity to improve ourselves and even like ourselves better, because we already have an internal system to indicate to us that we need to make some improvements. Are you catching what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you. It's making sense, okay? So if we have this internal, I'm not even talking about external, I'm talking about internal stuff. If you already know it, so then you've been given a golden opportunity to make some self-improvements, to make your life better, and even better in the sense that you approve or like yourself more. And if you like yourself more, if you approve of yourself more, I'm not talking about self-pride, okay? I'm talking about that you're liking yourself, then you're going to treat yourself better. You have more personal power to deal with yourself. Does that make sense? Did you catch what I said? All right, and some other keys is awareness. I mean, you can't fix anything that you're not aware of, but when you become aware, shouldn't we take advantage of it? The second one is responsibility. If we're aware of it, then don't we have a responsibility to ourselves, if not to others, to address those things that we see? Is this too much too quick?
No. All right.
Bless you, David.
Thank you.
And then, awareness, responsibility, and then transformation. You're here to make a difference in your life. And this lesson tonight, and what I'm talking about here, and what Willie will be talking about, what Tommy will be talking about, is that we'll have this jump up in our face, so to speak, and say, I need to do this, or I shouldn't do that. I need to make this improvement. And it behooves us to listen to that. Because it could be your spirit speaking to you. Some people call it conscience, right? And that way, you want to be better, then you do. We get better in increments. We usually don't get better in one big swoop, okay? These instant transformations, I'm always a little skeptical about. I want to give them some time to see how things work out. You know what I'm talking about? Is that too honest? No? All right? So we gotta have that transformed. So I basically have already covered this to some degree. So the connection between step 10 and looking in the mirror, how does looking in the mirror connect with step 10? We've already talked about it, basically. But I'll give you a chance, because I like to hear you talk. Was it Brian? Bruce? Which was it? Bruce?
Brian?
Brian, okay, had it right first time. You just act like you had something on your mind there.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
Yeah.
You just sit there and look smart. Is that what you're trying to say?
There you go.
Anybody else? I'm glad you're here, Brian. Robert?
I think we just need to be honest with ourselves, and if we see something, if it's good, then congratulate ourselves and say,
Good.
okay, I'm gonna try to do that part more.
Good.
If it's bad, then we say, okay, that's something I need to work on, and then take some steps to do it.
Good. Let's don't beat ourselves up. Recognize that we need to make the change and then take action in the direction of that change instead of spending time tearing ourselves down. Because tearing ourselves down is not going to get us closer to where we want to go, even though we've been trained that way. Punishment makes us better, we all believe. But how's that worked out for you? Yeah. It doesn't. It doesn't work out. So let's practice what we want instead of practicing what we don't want. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna go through a few things they got listed here looking in the mirror. Ongoing self-reflection, that we need to look at our thoughts, actions, attitudes, and take time to be patient and adjust and reflect on these. Everything can't be happening all in one session, but these little bitty increments, line upon line, according to the scriptures, line upon line, precept upon precept, and we'll make those adjustments. And if we make 1 degree adjustment a day, what's that going to be in weeks or years? Right? A lot. Okay, number 2, honesty and admission. So we have to be honest. So we need to look. When we look into the mirror, we see our true self. Okay, the illustration in the book that Willie will be going over, if you look in the mirror and you see mustard on your face, what's your normal reaction? Is to deal with it, right? Right? Well, I ate that hot dog 3 days ago and I hadn't looked since then. That's the way Will does it. And so, I hadn't looked in the mirror. He breaks all of his mirrors so he didn't have to look in them. And so, but now I said, man, I've been walking around with mustard on my face for 3 days. little playful sarcasm, I hope. And so,
Last year we did this same thing. And I told you I didn't have a mirror, and after this I went to buy a mirror because I thought maybe blood sport to see myself.
and what's the effect of you buying the mirror last year?
I get to see myself.
All right, good. And is that both positive and negative?
I don't know, I must like it. I looked at it like 10, 20 times a day.
All right, okay, we're moving the right deal. So that we also see our flaws, but we need to also see our positive attributes. Okay, all right. One of the things, and I know I talked about this last year when we talked about this subject. When I was 11, 12 years old, I practiced looking in the mirror, hating myself, to make myself emotionally hard. To handle the emotional stuff around me, to prepare me, and just to be hardened up. And so just hating myself. And, that works. Worked for me at that moment. Yeah, there was some negative side effects later on. Okay? You know what I mean? Number 3, taking responsibility. And that's so important, the concept of looking in the mirror and taking responsibility for what we see, okay? What adjustments, but also recognizing, taking responsibility, say, you made some good steps. You've come this so far, so we need to do that. Number 4, spiritual and personal growth. And that's what we're looking for here in this group, right? Spiritual and personal growth. We want to grow, and growth is painful. Who said it was painful a while ago? Who said that? But it is painful, but it's productive. Okay, it's productive. Our humanness, what God has put us in as a survival mechanism, is to avoid pain and seek pleasure. That was in our early existence, was to help us to survive, to live. But after a while, if we continue just in that pattern of avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, how does that work out for us? Well, it usually gets us into difficulties, right?
Yeah.
And so what we find out, and we know intellectually that the only way for us to grow is to do the reverse of that. And that is not just to seek pleasure and not avoid pain, to step into pain, because that stepping into those difficult situations that allows us to grow causes pain, which is productive in the long term in our life. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I had one answer on that. I think I had a couple of nods there, but not very much. Don't want to be too committed. Okay. All right. So connecting in a recovery context is that we're looking in the mirror. And something, as I was studying this week, I happened to go through a podcast, and I heard a fellow talking about, he made a statement about a system of a technique, a test, which he called looking in the mirror. And he also likened it to is talked about is the children of Israel that walked around in the desert for 40 years, trying to learn what they needed to learn, and that what is often called going around the mountain. Have you ever heard that term? You got to go around the mountain again? And because it took them 40 years to learn what they needed to learn to be able to go into the promised land. And so they had to go around that desert area 40 years, and it's not that big an area. So they kept seeing the same things over and over. What does that mean? The same tests. Think about your life here for a second. The same tests that you've had all your life keep showing up over and over and over, right? But when you finally start being able to pass the test, not that test stops coming, but it's no longer really a test, and it doesn't really affect you, and it doesn't deter you from moving on to where you need to go. Does that make sense? So, the point here is, looking in the mirror is primarily a physical observation, going through the desert and going through physical trials, difficulties, giving you an opportunity to make life choices, giving you an opportunity to make life choices. And if you always make the wrong life choice, where does that put you in life? And we don't have to drag that out, right? Because we know. So what we have to do is learn, say, oh, I remember this test, and I remember my choice last time, and I'm not doing that one, I'm doing this one. I'm going to turn right instead of left. Right? And did you know, and I looked this up because this was another one of my thoughts that I took off. Did you know that there are more accidents making left-hand turns than right-hand turns? Mm-hmm. They say that there's 22% of all the accidents come from left-hand turns. But 50% of accidents in where you're crossing paths with people are left-hand turns. I don't know how, I don't know all the, I didn't go into the depth of it, but it's somewhere, left-hand turns is somewhere in the neighborhood of 22% and 53%. So the question is, do you want to continue to be turning left? And if you're going to turn left, make sure you're careful, all right? Okay? And don't try to beat them to the punch. Hello? You know what I mean? Is that too much? So anyway, just a little extra there. All right. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I have a personal experience I'd like to share.
All right.
That happened this week. Reminds me of looking in the mirror.
Right.
So we had a little thing at our church where on Wednesday nights we have a special service for young people, grades 6 through 12. And I go, just to help out with whatever.
Good.
But this week we were all supposed to dress up like Western clothes, cowboy hats, boots, that kind of stuff. Well, I don't have any. So on my way from work to go to the meeting, I stopped at one of the second-hand stores on 7th Street there and asked if they had a bolo tie. I thought I would just get something, No, don't have any of those. How about a cowboy hat? No. And then I looked around and I said, well, do you have any of those stick horses? And they said, yes, we do. So I took a stick horse to the thing. And it's a good thing I like to make a fool of myself, because I did, riding that thing around. But the young people kind of got a kick out of it. Anyway, one of the ladies took a video of that, and I asked her to send it to me. So I had to look in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw, I mean, I saw my big old fat belly, one thing that I think I need to do something about. But anyway, it just, when we're talking about this, looking in the mirror, we've probably all had the experience of listening to ourselves on a tape, from a tape recording.
Right.
And we don't like the sound of our own voice, you
Right.
know? Well, I didn't like the sight of myself in a video, so. But for some reason, I don't see that side of me when I look in the mirror.
Right.
So it's a little different, you know? Anyway, just a little humorous note.
Well,
If anyone wants to watch that video, please ask about it.
Okay.
I'll be glad to show you.
Many years ago, I'd heard that the Japanese, I think it was Japanese, had a technique that they used to address folks that have come in that are intoxicated. And they video them, they're in their area, and then when they sober up a little bit, then they show them the video. And the statement was that more people saw something that they didn't really believe
Right.
before, because they actually saw themselves, how they acted in a state, altered state. So that's very, that could be positive and or negative.
Yeah.
Can I make a little commercial? Tomorrow, Sunday night, that's tomorrow night. We're out here, you saw where we're, got things kind of blocked off. Tomorrow night, we're gonna be having a event, it's called Trunk or Treat. It's basically where folks can come through and different ones have their trunk or back of their truck decorated and hand out candy for Halloween type event.
Gonna do that, Will?
And Will's gonna have a truck set up, and he's gonna be doing that. Also, he's one of them. John was asking me how many. I'd heard that there was supposed to be like 20. I don't know. There may be more, maybe less.
Free cavities for your kids.
And,
Free cavities.
well, no, there's, it's from the church, so, it doesn't have any of that type of bad stuff in it. And so, it doesn't hype up the kids or anything. So, and no calories. And so, anyway, we'll be doing that, and there's gonna be, hot dogs and an inflatable, and I think there's supposed to be a magic trick presentation, and maybe a skit or something like that. Anyway, that's gonna be going on. Time will be from 6 to 7:30, Sunday night.
Well, I get a drink.
How about that? All right? Okay, are we ready for the reading of the steps? Are we ready for that?
Yes.
And while Dave is coming, did anybody have any questions? All right. You may have to pull that back up, man, I don't know. Thank you, Dave.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry His message to others and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Back to step 10 that we're on today, we continue to take personal inventory, and we were wrong, promptly admitted.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Willie!
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Is that better? Looking in the mirror. We continue to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. How many times have we looked in the mirror each day?
Do we need to talk about that? Willie, how many times you look in the mirror each day?
Each day? Oh, at least 3 that I can count off the top of my head.
Okay. So what do you think this question, this statement here, I guess it's a question because it's got a question mark on it. What do you think it means?
Wanted to get your attention to how many times you do look in the mirror.
Okay, all right.
Wanted to bring that into your thoughts first before you get into anything else, just to,
And how does that tie in to step 10?
well, we're doing, they want you to look in the mirror, that way you know you're looking at yourself to see, make sure you're presentable, or you're ready to go do what you need to do, you got everything in order. So you're doing your inventory of your physical outside,
All
so
right.
on that.
Could you look in the mirror and go past the outside?
If you look deep enough.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that? Does anybody ever look deep into yourself, like in your eyes?
Look in your eyes, I was gonna say, yeah.
Uh-huh. Does anybody ever do? Has anybody ever done that? How about that?
Yeah. Look at my pupils in there and
Yeah, any thoughts about that?
I just seeing how my eyes were and my color of my eyes and stuff,
And for what reason?
I was just looking. I was looking in the mirror one day and I just thought, man, I wonder what color my eyes really are, and I started looking.
Uh-huh. John?
It's good to look in a physical mirror, but it is a lot better to look in a mental mirror, see how we are on the inside. And because we can change the physical, but our mental is still messed up. If we're going to change what's on the inside, we need to look at the mental mirror and see what we need to fix on the inside.
Good, good. And the other dimension would be our spiritual mirror,
Yeah.
right? Which we'll talk more about here in a little bit. Go ahead, Willie.
I will tell you that since I studied this step, I've been finding out that I've been looking in every mirror that I pass, just by studying this step,
Mhm.
just to look, as I've been studying it. Suppose we look in the mirror and we find that we have mustard smeared on all around our mouth. We would immediately wash our face and clean up the problem. And
Do you agree with that statement?
yes, I do.
Have any thoughts about that statement?
It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're dirty, you're gonna clean it, because you don't wanna go out in public or out somewhere and
Okay,
be
so
dirty.
if you're dirty, you're going to clean it. Is
Right.
that absolutely true?
If you're aware of it. That was worded that way for later on.
Depends on your mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that like attitude,
Yes.
mood and attitude?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought I'd just throw that in there for the fun of it.
I'm ready for this.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
all right.
Where was that? In the same way, we need to routinely look at ourselves in our spiritual mirror, the Bible.
So it's saying here that our spiritual mirror is the Bible. Do you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes? How does that work?
That one shows the defects of character.
Okay. Do we need to discuss that anymore? Dave, do you have any comments? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you positive?
Very positive, yeah.
Beth, you have any thoughts?
Just took a ride.
Just here for the ride? Well, you can comment.
No, I know.
She will give her time.
Okay. Robert. Robert's anxious,
I always have something to say.
and I'm glad.
Sometimes it's hard to know where to look in the Bible, I've found. But if we seriously want to examine ourselves, there are resources. And most Bibles have what they call a mini concordance in the back that has words and where you can find those words, what scripture you can find those words in the Bible. And so if you've taken a look in your personal mirror and found that you've got some trouble with pride or something like that, that there's a quality that you need some work on, well, then take time to look up that word in the concordance and find the scriptures that talk about pride. And then that's how to really see the spiritual mirror in the Bible. And, you know, there's lots of other resources too that will help us delve into more stories in the Bible that talk about those particular qualities like pride.
I've had a lot of people that have talked to me throughout the years saying that they open up the Bible and they happen to be right where it speaks to them in that area. Now, I think that some of that is maybe the Holy Spirit guiding, but that we also have this mechanism inside that when we finally are really looking for something, it kind of sends out a signal for stuff to kind of start coming our way, whether it's in the out of the scriptures or on our phone, on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or on a TV. One time, I felt like I had God speak to me on a commercial. I was looking for some answers, and I felt like there was a commercial there, and I felt like it actually spoke to me. And I think they may not even said what I heard, but at the same time, the Holy Spirit can take things and help us find meaning. When we look at patterns, when you look at patterns of things, different people see different things in those patterns. Marks or things like that, abstract art, and that's. But that has to do with what you're looking for. I bought a van one time. I'd never seen this van on the road before. I pulled in this. I was looking for a vehicle. I pulled in this lot, and I saw this van, and I said, I want that van. After I bought that van, guess what? I started seeing all over the place.
That van.
That van, because they call that the reticular activating system, I think is what they call that. So anyway, go ahead, Willie.
The spiritual mirror of the Bible. Then, if anything is wrong, we can take the proper steps to fix it. James uses a similar illustration to show how God's Word should be like a spiritual mirror in our life. He says in James 1:22-25.
Oh, excuse me for a second. I brought in a sheet that has James 1:25 broken down back there, right where the offering basket is, and some other inventory type stuff if you're interested. Some of you may have already got it because I always try to, my new stuff I try to set right there. But anyway, it's there, and Willie's going to talk about 22 through 25. Go ahead.
But don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you are only fooling yourselves. For if you listen to the word and don't obey, it is like glancing at your face in the mirror. You see yourself, walk away, and forget what you look like. But if you look carefully into the perfect law that has set you free, and if you do what it says, you don't forget what you heard. And don't forget what you heard, then God will bless you for doing it.
Back here on that sheet, I've got that broken down, verse 25. It's something I worked up a couple of years ago, and it's four keys to position you for God's blessing, and that is the first step is to look, second step is to do it, the third one is don't forget it, and the fourth is do it. It's a repeat. Do it, and if you do that, this will cause you to correct yourself. So look, do it, don't forget it, and doing it. Okay, so that might be beneficial to you if you wanted to research that more. Go ahead, Willie.
This illustration supports the sensibility in us of making a routine personal inventory. As we examine our lives, we need to respond with immediate action if something has changed since the last look. If we put off taking care of a problem, it may soon slip our mind, just as we would think it's foolish to go all the way knowing we have mustard on our face.
So do you agree with the scripture and those statements?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Got any thoughts?
Well, this book, the Bible, has nothing but truth in it. And if you're looking for the truth, it's the only way to find it. And unless you really study what you're reading, you ain't gonna find what you need on that.
Anybody else? Any thoughts? Okay, go ahead.
It is not logical to notice a problem that could lead to the fall and not correct it promptly.
Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Well, I agree.
Do you all agree or disagree with that statement?
Agree.
Okay, read that statement again.
It is not logical to notice a problem that could lead to a fall and not correct it promptly.
So how are we done on that type self-evaluation here? You don't have to answer, but how are you doing in that area? Okay. What do you think that means, Willie? You said you were ready.
I'm ready. I'm just picking the right words to say here because you know me and my vocabulary. See, I'm learning bigger words now. Used to be one syllable words. I'm good. But someone's been working on me to expand it, you know, so we're trying. Okay, I'm gonna read that again.
Okay, go right ahead.
Because I run my mouth enough. It's not logical to notice a problem that could lead to fall and not correct it. Well, if you know that something, if you know that it's gonna take you down, or you know it's gonna be a problem later, and you just let it, I'll worry about it later, then that problem is just gonna get bigger, and the bigger it is, the harder it's gonna be to take care of it. So if you acknowledge it first off, take care of it when it's small, then when it's big, you don't have to worry about it. Like a tree in the driveway, if you get it out before it grows up, then you don't have a big oak tree right in the middle of your driveway.
Yeah. Do you agree with Willie's statement here? Lori, did you have any comments? Anybody?
She wouldn't get up here and do step for me, even though I had
She wouldn't?
bronchitis.
Oh, man. Lawrence, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I can think back 20 years ago, and when I looked in the mirror, I just see two of me, double trouble, because I drank so much. But, I like the person I see in the mirror a lot better today,
Awesome.
and, people might say, I'm a little conceited or cocky or, there's a whole world out there to put me down and talk bad about me. The last person that's gonna be talking bad about myself is gonna be me.
Good.
If you can't build yourself up, it's gonna make everybody that much easier to tear you down.
Good.
So you best speak good things over yourself.
You're right about that. That's good, Lawrence.
The world would tear you apart.
Anybody else? Well,
I think the best thing we can do is turn our defective character into assets. The only way to do that is to recognize we have a defective character and break it down to what we can make positive out of the negative. So, like a car battery, I gotta have both sides in order to be able to run, but yet, sometimes you need more of that positive juice than just the ground.
if we use that same analogy that I was talking about earlier about going around the mountain and those things that were testing the children of Israel, that was stuff that they needed to learn to equip them to be able to do what they needed to do. And they kept failing the test, so they weren't ready to go into the promised land until they finally passed the test and learned what they needed to learn. Does that make sense? And your statement a while ago was a good statement about taking our defects and turn them into assets, which is exactly the same thing we're talking about. That's learning from these problems or defects and allowing ourselves to be transformed so that we are able to confront the world. And what Lawrence said about I know some of Lawrence's story, and when everybody stands up against you, you have to be willing. You have to learn to be able to stand up for yourself and believe in yourself, and not just give up. Everybody's against me, so I'll just quit. I'll flush my life down the sewer, so to speak, and that's not going to get you anywhere. And because Lawrence has gone through those things, not that they're good, not that we want to do it again by no means, okay, or want anybody else to have to do it, but he's a far better person now than he ever was, and he wasn't bad to start off with, okay, in my opinion. So, yeah, John.
I think the most important thing about how you think about yourself is how you think to yourself about yourself. That you don't keep telling yourself that you're no good and that you don't know why you're still around. We need to always keep in our mind that we are somebody special. We are worth something. If we weren't, Christ wouldn't come and die for us.
And this inventory mechanism that we're talking about here is to help you to acquire the evidence to reassure yourself because you're making those adjustments. Okay? One of the things that the educational system, I know it's got a lot of flaws, but one of the things that it gives people is that when you go through the system, you meet certain criterias and you say, well, I've done this, I've done that, and you then can like yourself better because you've gone through that system of self-improvement. Does that make sense? And so you have some evidence to help you to counteract that. And when you're in a meeting, when you're in church, when you're doing things to help you to learn to grow and transform, those are things that you have to recognize in that inventory in the positive end to give you the evidence that I am getting better. That's what I used to be, but that's not what I am, but that's not what I'm going to be. How about that? Little bit. Anything else, Willie?
I'm done.
Except for the last two questions.
Right.
What did you learn out of this lesson today?
I learned that when I look in the mirror and I talk to myself, that I have to repeat it because I wasn't listening the first time. No, as long as I'm looking in the mirror and as long as I'm looking in the mirror and I'm trying to evaluate myself, I just need to keep looking deeper because, once the surface stuff's gone, it's really the hard stuff that's inside that I got to deal with to get better. And unless I get that out, I ain't getting no better.
And what's your takeaway from this lesson?
Don't argue with yourself in the mirror.
Okay,
That's what I'd have to say.
all right.
Because, sometimes it ain't always, you ain't gonna like what you see sometimes, but you gotta deal with that too. Dealing with that's what's gonna make you stronger in the end.
Good. All right, thank you. All right, Willie. Big Tommy.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Tommy.
Looking in the mirror.
Looking in the mirror.
I do that a lot. I don't know why. I get bored and I go look in the mirror.
What do you see?
Myself.
What does that mean?
I see a better person than I used to be.
Good.
I'm
Good.
proud of myself.
Excellent.
Have I been quick to recognize but not take action in a particular area in my life or defect of character? I'd like to say yes. If so, can I take action without self-criticism by going back through steps 6, 7, and 8, and 9 on that particular area of defect?
Let's back up and ask that first part of that question to the group, okay?
Okay. Have I been quick to recognize?
No, we need to say, have you?
Oh, have you been quick to recognize but not to take action in a particular area of your life or defect of character? Anybody?
Will's shaking his head.
Will?
Want to expound on that?
I'm here to listen and learn. No,
No.
I'm still waiting. I know it's an issue, but I choose to continue that because, well, I don't want to get too deep into this, but sometimes it's a whole lot easier to say you have faith in God and allow that to work in your life. But I don't allow that to define me either. I still see a lot of positive affirmations in my life also.
Good.
It's a whole lot easier for me to continue with a problem than it is to just focus on the problem and allow myself to go back. So I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but I do recognize it.
Okay, so the first part of that question to the first comment is have I been quick to recognize? So, have we been quick to recognize? Have you been quick to recognize? Are you willing to be quick to recognize, but not taking action? Do you recognize? We must recognize to be able to make an adjustment, right?
Yes.
Right? So that's important. Would you agree with that, Tommy?
Yes.
But then, after we recognize, do we take action? Do you take action? Are you taking as much action as you prefer to take? How about that one?
Step by step,
Excuse me?
step by step.
All right. In particular areas of your life. How about that? And we all got stuff, right? Or defects of character.
There's always room for improvement,
That's good, good,
all the time, no
good.
matter wherever level you're at. There's always, you can always improve. But I'd be very careful about people, saying stuff and making judgments off of what people say. But you gotta remember, when they're pointing a finger at you, they got three pointing back at themselves. And a lot of time, what they're accusing you of, they're just as guilty of, if not more.
And that could be very true. And so we got to be careful. We need to look at it, but we need to address it. But one way to address it is there a valid, if they're saying that, if in that aspect, that was an aspect directly into this question, but it's a true element here that we sometimes, people say things. I know I've had people say things about me, and I've had people say, no, it's not true, but I take time to reflect on that, to evaluate it, to make sure that it is this there, like you said, is this about them or is this about me? And if there's something that I need to work on, I want to do that. And if it's just their way of deflecting, that's their issue, which is basically what Lauren said. So if we're stuck on something, and sometimes we can get stuck when we recognize something, we'll get stuck, then the suggestion is what? What does it suggest here?
To go back through steps 6, 7, 8, and 9.
And I put down 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, because I read them, I thought that too. I was wondering about that.
And you got the sheet up there. Won't you read those?
5 through 9.
Yeah.
We admitted to God, ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs.
Which is very important to try to extract what's ours and what's somebody else's, right? And when we're doing that, why do you think they're talking about communicating to somebody? Sometimes we have until something comes out of our mouth, we really haven't, because our brain tries to formulate it and get it in a semi-concrete way to present. So we haven't really processed it until we're going to get ready to try to talk about it. And then we hear ourselves say it, and then this is like looking in a mirror, and so we reevaluate what we said, and then oftentimes, if you've ever talked to anybody, and I bet you have, that they say it once, and then they restate it with a little more clarity, or maybe we do that. Right? Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and so that could help bring clarity if we're stuck in what we need, how we need to take action, and step 5 could help us on that, right? Because we're talking to another person, right?
Yes.
Go ahead. 6.
We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character.
So now we come to the place where we say, well, I'm getting ready to get rid of this, and I'm going to ask God to help me with that. And that's an important step. Not that we're done it yet, because that's the next step, but this step is we're getting ready. We've gone through this before, but I just wanted to touch on that. Go ahead, 7.
We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings.
So we're stuck, and we ask Him to help us get ready, and we're ready, and now we're saying, let's do it, God. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Anything you want to add?
I was just saying it was taking it from me.
Okay, good. Because I'm willing to release it.
Yes.
And possibly up to this point, I wasn't really ready to release it.
I wasn't. Probably didn't even know how to identify it.
Yeah, good.
If I
Good
didn't
statement.
work these steps, I wouldn't come to a place where I realized it.
Good, good, good statement. Next one.
Number 8. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all.
And that is where we're kind of scanning the deal and see if there's anything, jumping out at us, And some things come out quicker than others, right?
Yeah.
And if we're stuck somewhere, maybe it's the one that we've been holding on to that we didn't want to do,
Right.
right? And now we're seeing it because we're stuck in this character defect, and now we see it. And I don't know how many times people said, I'd forgotten that. This is a problem. I need to resolve this. And that just broke them free to be able to have a recovery breakthrough, spiritual breakthrough, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Number 9. We made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others.
And of course, we spent all last month on that, and that is a way to begin to process that, because when we're ready to make a direct amends, then that means we're coming to the place that we are dealing with that, and now we're willing to take action, which is where we started here in your question about that we're not taking action.
Yes.
So that was their suggestion to help you to get unstuck or to process this issue. So any questions or comments on that?
Mine, I thought about, when I read that, I got confused and thought working all of them at the same time. And then I thought, well, we're gonna get ready to go back through them, and am I willing to go back through them again next year? And I asked myself that, and I kind of have been lazy on doing some of the step work a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe next year I won't be so lazy since I'm working through that now,
I thought the same thing about you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
I
because
just haven't-
I've been missing you up there teaching this
I
stuff.
haven't had that fire this
Yeah,
year like I
yeah.
did last year.
Well, what are we gonna do about that?
I don't know. We're gonna have to take a look at it
His
in the
name
mirror.
was Willie. Willie put me on teaching the step more often.
Hey, that'd probably break me out of my little spell, man. Yeah.
I'll put you down in 2 weeks.
All right.
Now, what we did right there is you became aware, you talked about what you thought about,
Yeah.
you spoke it out, and you spoke it in front of others, and you even allowed me to speak in your life, and you took action.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just wanted everybody to see that as a present illustration of what they're talking about here. Okay, question number 2.
I think I just answered that one.
Well, let's read it.
On what area or defect do I need to take action today? This week or this month?
Okay,
Well, this has been going on for more than a month
yes.
or a week. This has been going on for a few months, the laziness. It's like I'd rather just play video games and watch TV. And normally I don't like playing video games all the time and watching TV, but it just seems like lately that's like my focus is, so laziness.
That's called kind of drifting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just drifting and out of maybe wanting to do, and I can't even keep my focus on what I play in my video game. I always want to play something different, and I don't know, my focus is off.
So, why is it important to do personal inventory?
So that we can see where we're at in life.
Okay, and how has personal inventory helped you today?
It's helped me see my flaws and areas in my life to where I'm failing.
So would it be a good idea to make a routine of doing a personal inventory?
Yes.
What would be your suggestion of a routine?
Studying. Maybe study every day, or that's where I kind of lack. I don't study as much as I used to. Maybe study more.
Okay? So what's your takeaway from what did you learn from this lesson today?
That I need to take more action and, like my studies with my Bible and my step work and stuff like that, I need to focus more on that
Good.
than some of my other areas in life.
And what's your takeaway?
Don't be lazy. Stop being so lazy.
What happens if you're lazy?
Become complacent.
And then what happens?
Just kind of drift away and
And then what happens?
become lost.
And then what happens?
You know,
Relapse.
relapse. Yeah, relapse. I was getting there. I was trying to. Thank you.
Going.
All right, thank you, Tommy. And back, I told you about this sheet back there in the back. There is a 7 personal inventory questions that might be helpful in what Tommy was talking about. And you can look at those. Do you want me to go through them real quick or just
Yeah.
go ahead? Number 1, what values are most important to you? That would be a good question, right? That you should ask yourself. What are your values? And what's most important? Number 2, what are your strengths and weaknesses? We basically have talked about that, but they're written down here for you if you want them. The question. Number 3, what kind of things do you enjoy doing? That's a great question, right? You know, because we may not even know. You ought to know what brings you joy, what you enjoy doing. You're probably more apt to say what you don't like, right? All right? And of course, we're talking about healthy things that would be in your best interest, of course, always. Number 4, when have you felt most successful? Well, that would be an indicator in your life to help you to make some adjustments, because if you're not heading in that type of direction, then you may want to make some adjustments, right? Hello? What do you think? Number 5, what did you enjoy the most about your favorite class or job? Well, that's a strange question, isn't it? But this is an inventory question to help you understand what it is that you enjoy, whether it's in a class. Because sometimes when you're lost or stuck, you know, that question right there can help you to find what your core values are. Does that make sense? That goes back to the very first question. 6, what has been your best learning experience? Okay, that would be something for you. You know, it may take a little bit of digging, a little bit of looking, being willing to be open to it. Okay, but you ought to know these things. It's your stuff, right? All right, to help you to zero in, to get that alignment where you want to be. Number 7, last one. Do you work best alone or with others? And sometimes our first reaction is not always the right one. So think about it, okay? And some of these other questions where you're talking about good learning experiences, most times, you know, we need to look at those and see that. But, you know, you just got to be honest with yourself. Honest appraisal, which is what I talked about in the first of the meeting, right? Questions, comments? Did you get anything from
Yes,
the lesson tonight?
absolutely.
Okay. Next week, I didn't bring that sheet up here. Next week is what?
Hold on a second.
Finding God?
Finding God.
Yeah, and that's you,
Will.
Will. And who's doing the reflection? Robert? Okay, all right. And come to find out, I finally got a hold of Bobby. because last week someone said that he was in the hospital, and Bobby, I got a hold of Bobby, and he hasn't been in the hospital. His brother is in the hospital in Tulsa, and he went to see him tonight, or he was there yesterday. He got there, it was about 5 o'clock yesterday evening. He said he just got off his motorcycle down here in Tulsa and called me, because I'd called a couple times yesterday, just trying, and we've been playing tag for several days. And so anyway, he, as far as we know, he'll be here next week, and Vanessa had something come up that she needed to do, so anyway, but should be here next week, so. Also on in November, on the weekend of Thanksgiving, which will be November the 30th, I think will be that Saturday, is that correct, Willie? We're not gonna be having a meeting, so that, of course, that's in about a month, but I just thought I would throw that out there. Any problem with that with anybody? Okay,
No.
all right, okay, questions? May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. And of course, make healthy choices, right?